take a notice at like how things are changing, because are you getting new audiences on these platforms, or is it more of like the same old folks? Are you finding that they are aligned with your interests? Are they engaging? Is it a little bit deeper of an engagement than just the standard social media of just scrolling to scroll, consuming of content versus digesting your information and really being more of an evangelist for your work? These are the things that you can ask, and really look at kind of, we talk about qualitative and quantitative, like data is really helpful, and also look at like just generally how things are going on those platforms to really understand that balance. So those are like how you assess your needs in this particular moment. The question of the day is, should we consider leaving and why? Um, it's a hard moment. Like, let's just be real. Um, I started out in advertising agencies for 15 years, and I started in Silicon Beach, which is like when like Snapchat was really big. They were all down at like Santa Monica and Venice. Then I moved up to big tech in Silicon Valley. And a lot of these systems are very harmful for us. And so we need to really understand the balance of like our work and our values and how they align with the platforms that we're on and how we're communicating with our audiences. So the first thing to consider is, are you seeing suppression? And could you see suppression? Like that's really key because a lot of folks are starting to notice that their numbers are going down, particularly on Meta, particularly on TikTok. I just saw Jessica Valenti, who writes Abortion Every Day, mentioned that as well. And so this is like a large scale issue. And we have to think about, again, do our values align with these platforms? Because at the end of the day, Meta is controlled by Mark Zuckerberg, who has very specific ideas about masculinity, and who should be in power. And so that is always going to be a friction point for us when we're on these platforms. And so that's something to consider as you are continuing to communicate on them and as we also migrate elsewhere. The other thing to think about is how your content is around all the other content. So, thinking about how you can control for misinformation, disinformation. We're also seeing a ton of AI slop, which is just like really weird, disturbing imagery, to be honest, on Instagram. And so that's another piece to consider, like, are we in these healthy environments? So the second is, should we consider leaving? So that's really thinking about your organization aligning with your values. The third is thinking about your audience. Because one thing that we're noticing now is the US government strategy is to overwhelm. It is to make us not want to act. And a lot of these platforms are frankly designed to keep us overwhelmed. We see poor mental health. We can see how that takes a toll. And so those are the questions that we need to be asking of, like, how are we cultivating healthier environments, either on these platforms or away from the platforms? Like, I do want to be clear, like, I am anti-big tech because I have seen we're here now because of big tech. And so we have to be the ones to help support people to move away from the harmful systems. At the same time, our audiences are on these systems because they are big, because they have grown. And so we have to balance that and understand, like, how do we reach people while also making sure that we're building healthy ecosystems for our organizations, for our team, but also for the audiences and the people we're supporting.